Good evening, friends and my dear students. Welcome once again in my continuing lecture on John Keats's Ode to a Nightingale. This is the third consecutive video lecture that I am going to present right now because I have already explained the basic things about John Keats's poetry in my first video lecture, and the second one which I have delivered yesterday. I discussed the first four stanzas of this celebrated poem by John Keats, and right now I am going to present the last four stanzas of John Keats's Ode to a Nightingale. So let us begin with the stanza number 5. I read the stanza first, then I will explain the words and the lines one by one. So, stanza 5. I cannot see what flowers are at my feet, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs, but in embalmed darkness guess each sweet, wherewith the seasonable month endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild. White hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine, fast fading violets covered up in leaves, and mid-May's eldest child, the coming musk rose, full of dewy wine, the murmurous haunt of flies on summer eves. So it's a fascinating stanza describing the nature's element, and now I start explaining from the very first line. I cannot see the flowers, what flowers are at my feet. So this stanza also is a rich feast for senses. I have described Keats's sensuousness in my very first lecture, and this stanza embodies that particular characteristics of John Keats, his sensuousness. I cannot see the flowers, what flowers are at my feet. That means there are sweet and fragrant lines. These are the sweet and fragrant lines because of its various flowers and the rich smells that are coming from these blossoms of flower, and which are described in these lines. So this appeals to the senses of our sight, smell and touch as well. So these are very sensuous lines with which the stanza 5 begins. I cannot see the flowers. That means the poet has already transported to the world of the nightingale on the upper branch of that particular plum tree where the nightingale had already built her nest. So the poet going there and sitting over there on the branch, he is imagining that I cannot see the flowers, what flowers are at my feet. So he cannot recognize the flowers that have already blossomed under his feet, that means on the earth, nor what soft incense hangs upon the boughs. That means the soft incense. The soft means here a kind of tactile image. The incense cannot be soft. Incense, what is incense? Incense is the fragrant of the blossom flower, the mildly scented flowers. So it cannot be soft, it cannot be touched, it can only be smelled, it can only be taken the perception with our nose. So here this tactile image is presented in such a way that we can feel, we can perceive the soft incense that hangs from the blossoms, the flowers that are under his feet. So hangs upon the boughs. What soft incense hangs upon the boughs? Boughs means the large branches, and this particular fragrance of that is coming out, that is emanating from the blossoming flowers, and it has a kind of hangover on the entire ambience. The ambience is full of that particular incense. But in embalmed darkness gaze each sweet, wherewith the seasonable month endows the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild. And embalmed darkness, that means embalmed. What is embalmed? Embalmed, balm is a kind of medication, a kind of medication that is being applied on our body. So here embalmed means it is richly scented. Balm is a kind of scent that is being applied on our body. So embalmed means it is the verb, so it richly scented, and it is perfume. Darkness, the darkness is perfume. So see the imagery, see the poetic quality, the penmanship of Keats, the darkness which is also embalmed, the scented darkness. Gaze each sweet wherewith the seasonable month endows. Gaze, that means the poet is trying to ascertain what flowers might be there under his feet. And each sweet wherewith the seasonable month, that means the sweet flower. The flowers are not sweet, rather the fragrance that is emanating, that is coming out from those flowers, they are sweet, sweet in nature. So with that flower, with that fragrance, with which the seasonable month, the month in the proper season, that means this particular springtime, the summertime, this particular summertime is being decorated with the fragrance of those blossoming flowers. So seasonable month endows the grass. Endows, that means it furnishes, it supplies, it adorns the grass, the thicket. Thicket means a kind of small plants that grows outside the garden, what we call generally bush, bush. Bush, that means these are all undergrowth trees, and these are all known as thickets. And fruit tree wild, that means the fruit trees that comes out automatically. Nobody has planted those fruit trees. Those fruit trees are uncultivated, lying in nature state. They are automatically grown in that particular bush, in that particular area. So the grass, the thicket, and the fruit tree wild, white hawthorn, a kind of flower, hawthorn, a type of shrub and small tree, rose family. It is something like rose, rose family producing snowy white flowers similar to the apple blossoms. So white hawthorn and the pastoral eglantine. Pastoral eglantine. So pastoral, that means pasture. From pasture the pastoral has come. So pasture means growing in the field. That is referred, frequently referred in our pastoral poetry, in Elizabethan or in Shakespearean poetry. We have got the reference of pastoral element. So similarly here also the pastoral eglantine. Eglantine, what is eglantine? Eglantine is a honeysuckle sweet briar, a kind of wild rose with scented leaves and single pink flower. So it is also a kind of flower with a sweet briar and a kind of rose group flower, and it has a scent in its leaves, as well as the flower is also pink in color. So hawthorn, pastoral eglantine, and fast fading violets. Fast fading means that these are very transient in nature. It the color generally fades within a few moments, within a few hours. So it quickly dies away, withers away the flowers, the color of the flower, the violet color, covered up in leaves. And mid May's eldest child. Mid May's, covered up means it is concealed, it is wrapped, it is concealed, it is wrapped. So what is wrapped? And mid May's eldest child, the first flower, that is the musk rose that grows in the middle of the May, that is the early spring. It is generally known in English and European countries. The middle of the May is the is the season of early spring. So at that time, so the first flower that comes to blossom is the musk rose that grows in the middle. So it has been referred here as the mid May's eldest child. The coming musk rose, the coming musk rose, that means coming means that is about to bloom, that is about to bloom. The coming musk rose, a wild type rambling rose, full of dewy wine. So dews that have been accumulated on the petals of the flowers, so that is a very natural imagery that is being projected here, very conscious, very realistic approach of writing poetry, full of dewy wine. So why it is wine? It is full of honey. Generally butterflies and insects, they suck that particular wine, the nectar from the flowers. So it is referred here as the dewy wine. The murmurous hunt of flies on summer eves. Here comes the reference of the bees, the insects and butterflies. They generally murmurs. That means they began to produce a humming sound, a humming noise, that humming noise, and they hunt the flies. That means they hunt that particular place. They frequently come and visit that particular place because they find nectars in the flowers, and they suck that particular nectar, and which produces honey thereafter. So the murmurous, that means the humming sound, hunting of the flies on summer eves. Here eves means evening. That means eves is evening. So we have gathered a very fine natural imagery, some rare name of some rare flowers, and how the bees and insects and butterflies, they come to collect the nectar from the blossoming flowers, and the entire ambience is sweet with the fragrance of the blossoming flowers. So these are the very natural and nature's description that has made us proud by Keats's real genius. So what we have seen in this stanza, that the poet has already transported himself in the realm of the nightingale, and that realm is totally covered in darkness, and from that darkness he cannot recognize what the flowers are blossoming on the earth, and he can only realize the fragrance, and from that fragrance he wants to identify each and every flower distinctively, and he also refers the sweet smell that comes out of these particular flowers, and the reference of the May and the season of merry fruitfulness, which I have told yesterday in my lecture, and the pastoral element that is found particularly in this stanza. These are all nature's working, nature's handicraft, nature's penmanship, and the last few lines, the last line is noticeable because of the music of the long vowels, the music of the long vowel, which is really noteworthy. And this is also an example of onomatopoeia, because the sounds of the words, they produces the murmur of the flies. The sounds can produce the meaning of the sentence. So with this stanza we have really come to a conclusion that Keats is really a nature's handiwork. So Keats's poetry is nature's handiwork. So now I begin stanza number 6. Darkling I listen, for many a time I have been half in love with easeful death, called him soft names in many a mused rhyme, to take into the air my quiet breath. Now more than ever seems it reach to die, to seize upon the midnight with no pain, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still wouldest thou sing, and I have ears in vain, to thy high requiem become a sod. So this stanza also reflects, and it goes from the previous stanza which was dedicated to the nature and nature's imagery, the birds, essence, flower, fragrance, all sorts of things. Now the poet is reminding of a somewhat a kind of sad melancholic tone, or in that melancholic tone he wants to say something which is very deeply hurting to us. So let us explain each line, each word. Darkling I listen. So what is darkling? Darkling means in the dark. So in the dark I listen for many a time. For many a time. That means for many a times. Listen, that means listen to carefully. The poet is suggesting that in the evening, in the darkness, I hear carefully many a times. That means on many occasions. Many occasions I have been half in love with easeful death. Oh, what a line this is. I have been half in love with easeful death. So I am not fully in love with easeful death, but I am half in love. Now that means not fully in love, not passionate enough to be fully in love or to be engrossed in love with the easeful death. Easeful means soothing, comfortable, painless. So what is soothing, what is comfortable, and what is painless is easeful. Called me soft names in many amused rhymes. Called me soft names. That means I have called you death. The person of the poet is poet is calling death, death in soft names, in sweet names, in many amused rhymes. That means he has contemplated but not actually done. He has meditated. He has meditated in various rhymes. That means in various poems, various songs. He has called death to come and to take him away, to take into the air my quiet breath. That means he meditated, he contemplated that in many poems and in many songs that death would come and quietly, calmly, imperceptibly, or rather ordinarily take him away. Where? Take him away the quiet breath. Breath means life, the life force that we breathe, the oxygen that we take, and the carbon dioxide that we breathe out. So it is our life force. So the poet meditated, the poet actually contemplated in many of his poems, many of his rhymes, many of his songs, that the death would come and take him away very quietly and calmly, and not more than ever seems it reach to die. Not more than ever. That means any previous time, not more than ever seems it reach to die. So it is very happy, it is very pleasant, or it would be very precious and luxurious or satisfying moment, or rather blissful and magnificent moment to die right now, to seize upon the midnight with no pain, to seize upon the midnight. That means to stop here, to exit from here, exit from this earthly freight, fever, and painful life. So to stop the existence right now, and into where did the poet want to go? He want to go in this particular midnight. That means the tender is the night where there will be none to look at him, there will be none to observe him. So it indicates the progress of the time, the night time, the midnight, and with no pain, and there will be no pain, no feeling of oppression, because he is witnessing the melodious voice of the nightingale, and by listening to the melodious voice of the nightingale, if he wants to die at that particular moment, there will be no pain at his heart. So he refers that to seize upon the midnight, that means to stop here, to stop his breathing here, to die right now at this moment of midnight with no pain, and he will be empathetic towards the nightingale song. And so while listening to that particular melodious and intoxicating song of the nightingale, he will never feel any kind of pain in his heart. So next line, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad. While, that means during the time when I am supposed to die, when I am supposed to exit from this worldly existence, at that moment thou art, that means you are pouring forth thy soul abroad. That means you are continuous. It is a continuous stream pouring forth. That means you haven't stopped. You haven't stopped singing your melodious song. You are pouring your song continuously like the fountain from a mountain. So it is a continuous stream. Your song is melodious, song is a continuous flow of a river. So pouring forth thy soul abroad. So it is very important. Thy means your soul abroad. That means soul. What is soul? The the innermost thoughts, innermost layers of the heart. So you are the poet is suggesting, the person is suggesting that the nightingale is singing in a full throated ease. He has no pain at his heart. He has no complexities. He has no care. He has no perception of the earthly existence. So what the nightingale can do, he can or she can sing a melodious song in a full throated ease without having any kind of hindrance. So that melodious song will come directly from the heart. So this is the essence of the romantic poetry. The romantic poetry comes directly from the heart. And where lies the difference between the romantic poetry and modern poetry? Modern poetry is the brainchild, is the brain work. Poetry must come from heart, but modern poetry originates from heart and it comes through brain. So via brain it comes. But here romantic poetry comes directly from the heart. So here lies the essence in this particular line, thy soul abroad. The nightingale is pouring forth the soul. That means it is not the song itself, it is the soul, the inner strength of the nightingale that is coming out through the essence of the song. So in such an ecstasy, the next line is much more important. So you are pouring your soul abroad in such an ecstasy. This particular word is very important. Ecstasy. What is ecstasy? Ecstasy is not only joy. Ecstasy is not only merriment. So ecstasy, as we have seen in dance ecstasy, in metaphysical poem, there is a particular poem, title of the poem is Ecstasy. So that particular poem, we have seen that ecstasy is not only the merriment or the joy that comes out from someone. It is not mere joy. Ecstasy is excessive joy, exceeding delight, intense joyfulness, and it's kind of rapture. And with that particular joy, the soul itself comes out of the body. So with that intensity of the joy, the soul comes out of the body. So here lies the difference between plain joy, a merriment, and a kind of ecstasy that we suffer sometimes. So ecstasy, here the poet is suggesting, the person is suggesting that the nightingale has poured his soul outside in such a way that the joy, the intense rapture, the exceeding delight has come out of his bodily existence, and it comes outside of the body. So next last two line, still wouldest thou sing and I have ears in vain. Still wouldest thou sing and I have ears in vain. So the poet has already suggested that he wants to die very silently, quietly, comfortably at the time of the midnight. So there is no question that he will listen to the song of this particular melodious pouring forth of the nightingale, because he is already dead. So after his death, he is not in a position to listen to this particular melodious song of the nightingale. So he says, still wouldest thou sing. That means you will carry on your singing, you will go on your singing, and you will never stop unhindered. But I have ears in vain. That means I do not listen to that music anymore, that melodious tune anymore, because by that time I will be dead. To thy high requiem become a sword. To thy high requiem become a sword. So what is requiem? Requiem. Requiem is a highly devotional dirge that it's a kind of chanting for the dead person. Rather I should say very lucidly that it is a kind of funeral song. It is a kind of song that is being sung in a very sad tone while someone is already dead, and in the procession of that particular funeral ceremony, this particular dirge and devotional dirge is being sung. So requiem is a kind of that funeral song. So thy high requiem become a sword. So what is become? Become means when I would become. The poet wants that he would become sword. What is sword? SOD. Sword is as deaf, as insensible as a lump of earth on the grass. The sword is a lump of grass, lump of earth, and after his demise, when he will be engraved, and there will be nothing, to perceive the melodious song of the nightingale. His body will be just like a particular lump of earth after his engravement. So there will be nothing to listen to the music of the tune of the nightingale. So it's another fascinating stanza which describes the pathos, the melancholy tune of the poet's expression, the Keats's real penmanship. So if I sum up the stanza number 6, so what comes out very importantly, it comes out that the easeful death, that means death signifies death signifies with a kind of ease and peace for Keats. So death is a kind of solution. Death is a kind of solution from the problems of the realistic and this careful life on this earth. So he wants to avoid this kind of careful, anxious life under the sun. So what does he want? He wants to pass away quite smoothly, quite cautiously, like ease and peace. So tired does he feel that his life after death is not a terror. So he doesn't fear the perception of death. So death is not a fear to him. Death is not a kind of what should I say? Death is not a kind of fearful thing. It is rather a release from the oppression of the daily life. So he wants to be released from the oppression of the daily life. So this is not the first time that he longs for death. In his previous poems, in his previous song, he has already invoked death, that you please come and take me away from this this careful and full of troubles, this anxious life, and take me away with your with you. So he has chosen this particular midnight time to die very peacefully, die very smoothly. So the poet feels that nothing would bring him greater happiness than death at this moment. So death will be the only solution, and nothing can bring him much more happiness than death. So he want to seize at this time of midnight. So die in this particular time of midnight is a fancy that the poet persona has been longing for, has been yearning. The poet feels that he at the end of the stanza, what we have seen, that he is already dead. He is thinking that he is already dead, and the nightingale song will continue forever. Because one nightingale may die, but another nightingale will sing the same song. So the song will remain forever, the beauty will remain forever, but the body will perish somehow. So it is something which is continuous, which is imperishable. So perishable is the body, but the song that will go on forever. So it will be a continuing song. So the bard would sing forever, and after the death of the poet, but the poet would not be in a position to sing. Sorry, the poet would not be in a position to listen to the song of that melodious tune, because he himself will be reduced to ashes, or reduced to be in dust in his grave. So now I read the stanza 7, which is another fascinating stanza. So let us begin with the fascinating line in stanza number 7. Thou wast not born for death, immortal bird. No hungry generation strayed thee down. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clown. Perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth when seek for home she stood in tears amid the alien corn, the same that oft time hath charmed the magic casemates, opening on the foam of perilous seas in fairy lands forlorn. So, explaining the line, thou was not born for death. The poet is alluding, the poet is referring to the nightingale that you were not born for death. So, what I have told right now, that one nightingale may die, but the song of the nightingale will remain forever throughout the life. So, thou was not born for death, immortal bird. The bird is not immortal, it is transferred epithet. The bird is not immortal, bird is mortal. But what is immortal? Immortal is the song of the bird. So no hungry generation strayed thee down. So if I explain the term immortal bird, that immortal means deathless because of its supremely happy existence as well as its intensely delightful song whose appeal remains fresh from age to age. So this appeal of the song will remain forever, but the particular bird may die. So in the next line, line number 2, no hungry generation strayed thee down. No hungry generations. So a generation means a younger generation, the generation which is hungry for food, which is hungry for material gains. There is very little of religiosity, only the material profits, only the material gains are the main objective. So the generations is hungry and trade thee down. That means trade means to group of people that comes one after another who trample the younger generation, the group of people that comes and they trample. Trade means trample, walk over, to crush, to destroy, to press by feet, so trade thee down. So what is thee means you, that means the nightingale. So trade thee down. The voice I heard this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperors and clowns. So this particular melodious song, the melodious tune of the nightingale, which the poet is supposed to hear at this night, is was being heard by the in ancient days by the emperors as well as the clowns. So the nightingale song is not something which can be enjoyed by the aristocrats only, or which can be enjoyed by the laymen only. So it is open for all. It is in such a balance that anybody can listen. So nature's beauty is not confined for a particular person or a particular group of people, or particular rich or poor, or particular fair and dark. It's not that kind of thing. Nature's beauty is open for all. So the song of the nightingale is the essence of the natural beauty, and that was being heard by the emperors, that means by the supreme ruler, the kings of the nation, and also as well as the clowns who were clowns, very peasant, simple, uneducated persons, buffoons, they are stupid persons. They also have heard the self same sound of the nightingale. So perhaps the self same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth. So perhaps the self same, that means that very identical, that very song had penetrated, song found a path means it penetrated, it managed to enter into the sad heart of Ruth. So who was Ruth? Ruth was a Moabite woman who married Mahlon the Israelite, and after her husband's death she left her native place, that is Moab, and started for Bethlehem, showing uncommon loyalty to her mother-in-law. Mother-in-law's name is Naomi. So later she married Boaz, her husband's kinsman, and became the great grandmother of David, Israel's greatest king. So it's a kind of loyalty we found in this particular allusion of Ruth. So this particular song of the Nightingale also entered into the heart of the Ruth when sick from home. That means homesickness, sick from home, feeling uneasy, feeling his absence, feeling her absence from the home, away from home. So what is the home? It is Moab, the Moabite. She was a Moabite. So she stood in tears. She means Ruth. Ruth, she stood in tears, full of tears. Where did he stood? She stood amid the alien corn. That means amidst, in the midst of a foreign land, and not her own country. It is not Moab. It was a foreign land. She stood in tears amid the alien corn. So corn is not alien. It is also a transferred epithet. The alien means foreign. Corn means that means cornfield that we cultivate in a land. So the land is unknown. Land is a foreign land, but not the corn. So the same that oft time hath charmed magic casements, opening on the foam of perilous seas in fairy lands forlorn. So the same means the same song of the Nightingale, that oft time means that often hath charmed the magic casements. The often hath charmed the magic casements. What is magic casement? So charmed means it is a kind of consoled, soothed, consoled or comforted the magic casements. So it is supposed that a woman is sitting behind the windows of an enchanted castle of a wicked magician, which opened or shut of their own accord. So a particular woman who was seated on the windows of an enchanted castle and was very sad at heart, she was listening to the glorious tune of the Nightingale. So magic casement, the casement is not magic, but the castle is enchanted castle. So magic casement opening on the foam. Opening on the foams means it is open out, it is looking over to the foam. Foam means the that foam that comes out from the sea waves. So when the sea waves fall on the sand, it creates a kind of foam. So that foam. So perilous seas, the perilous means dangerous, that is very rowdy, that is very what should I say, that is very dangerous kind of water, the waves in fairy lands forlorn. So it is abandoned, the land is absolutely utterly lost, it is absolutely abandoned land. So we have completed stanza 7 word by word. Now I would like to sum up this particular stanza in a few lines. So what did the poet suggest here? The poet suggested here that the bird cannot be immortal. A bird is physical bird, a bird can die, but his song or her song can be immortal, because generations after generation people will come, people will listen to the same melodious song of the Nightingale. So beauty will be preserved and beauty will be perennial for everybody, and that particular beauty is open for all. So there is no hard and fast watertight compartment that only aristocrats can enjoy that particular beauty or only the laymen can enjoy the beauty. It's not like that. Beauty is open for all. And there is a particular reference of Ruth, which I have already told. It is in the Bible. It was in the Bible. So Ruth's loyalty is here also manifested, and Keats here hears the Nightingale song as the idea occurs to him that Nightingale is singing today and has lived for thousands of years. Even the long, long ago, when Ruth also lived far away from her native land, Moab in Judah, and her heart was sad, this very nightingale song had given her comfort, had given her consolation in the heart, and amid the foreign and alien lands when her husband was not there, did. So the self same song might have been enjoyed by the emperors and also the buffoons and the laymen. And this self same song is also heard by the sad lady who was seated by the window of a charmed castle, and that charmed castle and she was kept in that particular charmed castle by a wizard or a giant who kept herself inside into that particular castle. So charmed here is a verb, not an adjective. It seems the same song in the preceding line. This song is the same enchanted or the magic casement song which was heard by that particular lady who's seated there with quite sad at heart. So, and the last line is very important because there is a particular word that is forlorn. The word is forlorn. So what was the last line? The last line was the foam of perilous seas in fairy lands forlorn. In fairy lands forlorn. So forlorn is a word. These lines describe the location of the magic casement. The magic casement, the enchanted castle, was situated in a desolate land, was situated in a very far away land, and that particular land is a land of fairies. So it can be said that it is a fairy land on the brink of a dangerous or perilous seas. So with this note, the stanza 7 ends here. Now I would read the last stanza, the stanza 8. So the stanza 8 also begins with the last word of stanza 7. That is why I was mentioning that the last word forlorn was very important in connection with the last stanza of the poem. So forlorn, the very word is like a bell to toll me back from thee to my soul sail. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do. Deceiving ale, adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows, over the still stream, up the hillside, and now it's buried deep in the next valley glades. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Played is that music, do I awake or sleep? The last two lines is really fascinating. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Played is that music, do I wake or sleep? So the very word forlorn means lonely, desolate. So it is a pitiable, and the word it means it is left desolate. So forlorn, the very word is like a bell. So this particular word, this exact word forlorn is a kind of bell. That means it is a kind of object which will struck by its noise. By its noise, it struck, and what happens then? To toll me back from thee to my soul sail. That is important. To toll me back, that means to call me, to summon me back, as bells done by ringing slowly and regularly. And after this ringing of the bell, that particular word forlorn acts as the ringing of the bell. And after the ringing of the bell, what happens? It tolls me back from thee to my soul sail. So that particular transportation of the soul was transported to the nightingale soul. So poet's soul has already been transported there, but suddenly this particular word forlorn, which acts as a bell, and after hearing that bell, the ringing sound, the ringing noise of the bell, slowly silently the told me back from thee. That means I came back once again to my real self. And from where? To thee, from you, to my soul self. That means to my everyday self. That means my usual, my real self. I came once again back. Next, third line. Adieu, the fancy cannot cheat so well. Adieu. Adieu means goodbye, farewell. Goodbye, farewell. So farewell. So poet is bidding farewell. The persona is bidding farewell. Farewell from whom? Farewell from the nightingale. Farewell. The fancy cannot cheat so well. The fancy means imagination. So the poet was transported to the world of imagination. The poet was transported to the world of fancy, and from that fancy, he is now recognizing that fancy cannot cheat so well. So fancy, imagination cannot deceive so easily by keeping up the illusion of the nightingale's immortality or making one forget the hard realities of life for a long time. So it is not the panacea. The poet is suggesting that the nightingale's song may soothe the heart, may soothe the perched heart, matured heart for some time, but it cannot be the ultimate panacea for the entire life. So you have to come back to the realities of the earthly existence. You cannot avoid the cares, anxieties, the pains and fevers and frays. You cannot avoid all these things. You have to come to the reality and accept the reality as it is. So here is the essence of life that is being reflected in this line. The fancy cannot cheat so well as she is famed to do. As she is famed to do. That means he is reputed. Fancy is reputed, or fancy is well known for for deceive, for cheating, for deceiving elf. So deceiving elf, deceiving elves mean as a playing tricks and small mischievous fairies and spirits. Small mischievous fairies, they are known as elf. So once again the persona is uttering that adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem fades past the near meadows over the still stream, up the hillside, and now this very deep in the next valley glades. Was it a vision or a waking dream? Flayed is the music. Do I wake or sleep? So adieu, adieu, thy plaintive anthem. That thy means your plaintive. Plaintive means melancholy, sorrowful. Melancholy, sorrowful anthem. Anthem here is the song. The anthem fades. Fades means it disappears slowly. It grows gradually from here. Past the near meadows. Past means it is beyond. Beyond the close at hand, the meadows. Meadows, the piece of grassland, the pastoral land mentioned here. So the nightingale, by singing, it was flying away from that particular place through the meadows, over the still stream, that means across, touching the surface of the still, quiet, noiseless stream, small river, up the hillside. And suddenly the nightingale's voice can be heard from the up of the hillside. That means nightingale flew in that particular direction, and the nightingale was singing by the time she was flying in the direction of the hill. And now this very deep, and suddenly the sound of the nightingale, the melodious music, the tune of the nightingale is suddenly buried, suddenly sunk so low as it can hardly be audible. And suddenly it becomes so slow, inaudible, that it seems to be that the nightingale was very far away. So it is very deep in the next valley glades. That means in the next valley. That means a valley is an open space between the two hills, that is called valley. So in that particular valley, in that particular place, in the next valley, the nightingale has gone to another region, to another place. So now the last two lines, which is very significant, the poet is asking, the poet is interrogating, and within that interrogation the answer is implied also. Was it a vision or a waking dream? The poet was asking that the song, the journey to the ideal land of the nightingale, the journey from the reality to the ideal land of the nightingale, was it a vision? Was it a vision or a waking dream? Or it seems to be I was waking, a dream-like situation, an ideal fancy experienced in a wakeful state at a daytime. So am I asleep at that time, or was I awoke to perceive all these things in my daydream? So the poet is asking, the answer is implied within that question. And the last line is, flayed is that music. That means flayed means absolutely gone. The music is totally gone. So the nightingale's voice, the nightingale's sweet song, the nightingale's effort of singing this melodious song, which transported him to the ideal world from the real world, is now totally gone. Flayed is the music. And the last question the poet asks is, do I wake or sleep? That means, am I awake or am I asleep? So what did we get out of this last stanza? So if I want to sum up the last stanza, I have to say that the very sound of the word forlorn is like the ringing of an alarm bell, and this particular word reminds the poet that I am not alone and not really with you. That means I am not alone, and I am not totally submerged with your soul. That means nightingale's soul. This word reminds me that I am not alone, I am not really with you. This word interrupts my imagination and calls me back to the reality like the ringing of the bell. So I once again come back to the real world of this earthly existence, and he wants to bid farewell to that fancy world, the imaginative world, and he says that adieu, adieu, this song, this anthem, this particular nightingale song, the plaintive anthem, that means this melancholy tune, is no longer heard clearly. So the nightingale has already flown from there and already has gone from that particular place to a new valley, to a new locality, to a new region, and in that region perhaps that nightingale will soothe the minds, soothe the heart of the first souls. So here the poet says that, is it a vision or a dream? So is it something unreal or is it something imagined? So that music, the soothing song of the nightingale, the music of the nightingale is fading far away, and with that fading far away, the imagination also fading far away. So the vision that he had been seeing is no longer before him, and he realizes that he has traveled back from the region of the poetic fantasy into the world of the common reality. So he has already come back from the region of poetic fantasy and to the world of the common reality, which we cannot ignore. We have to accept anyhow the fate and fevers of the society of the common earthly existence. So what I wanted to suggest is that the spell is now totally broken, and as the bird flies away from the poet, and the heaven of joy and beauty vanishes, and the poet finds himself back into the realities of life, the world of eternity into which the poet was transported by the wings of poesy and is replaced by the world of time. So Ode to a Nightingale is one of the greatest lyrics in the English language. But I was saying in my first lecture that almost all the universities throughout the world, they have included this particular poem in their syllabus in UG and PG level. Why? Because there is something significant in that particular order of poem, so it has been included for this. So it is the greatest lyric in almost all the English literary history. So what Robert Bridges says, I could not name an English poem of the same length which contains so much beauty as this ode. So Robert Bridges has told that I could not name a single English poem of that same length which contains so much beauty as this particular ode. Middleton Murray also says that for sheer loveliness, this poem is unsurpassed in the English language. It reaches the peak of romantic poetry in these two lines, the same that oft time hath charmed magic kismates. So this is the romantic element at the end of the poem. The poem represents a fleeting experience of the poet, an intense imaginative experience in which sorrow is fused with joy, and the world of time merges into the world of eternity. It is a romantic poem, but it denies nothing of human experience. It tells of the sorrows of life. It reveals also the bitterness, the bitterest human experiences, bitterest human existence that can be transmuted into beauty, which is true. So beauty is true. So Ode to a Nightingale is a poem of midnight and sorrow and beauty. The poet hears the song of nightingale when the night is tender. The tender is the night. The poet contemplates the sorrows of the world to which all mankind is the subject. He longs to get away from that particular sorrow. But how? By means of his imagination, he reveals to him the truth of beauty, that he at once passes into the physical world, the world of time, to the world of eternity. The song of the nightingale presents beauty, eternal beauty, and that beauty will never fade. So it is the eternal spirit of beauty, it is the voice of eternity that transcends the bounds of space and time. Thou wast not born for death, immortal birds. The nightingale, whose song the poet hears, is suddenly transported into a flash from the world of time to the world of eternity. It has been singing for ages and ages. Thus, to the poet, in the moment of imaginative ecstasy, the nightingale is not a solitary bird singing from the hiding place in the tree, singing from the hiding leaves of a branch of a tree. The bird is turned into a song. The bird and the song are one. So bird and song, they have become synonymous. Both they are immortal. So they are not born for death. This imaginative swearing of the finite into the infinite, from the world of time to the world of eternity, is marked a feature of the greatest romantic poetry. Blake expresses his imaginative vision in reality in a wonderful manner, to see the world in grain of sand and heaven in a wild flower. Hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. So also for Wordsworth, the cuckoo becomes a wandering voice. In Immortality Ode we have found the Wordsworth passes from the finite to the infinite when he says, hence in a season of calm weather, thou inland far we be, our souls have sighed, and that immortal sea which brought us hither. Shelley also in his Adonis, he says that he lives, he wakes, his death is dead, not he. His death is dead, his death is dead, but not he. So here also that what we found in this particular poem, particular genius production of Keats, that the poetic style reaches its peak of glory in this particular Nightingale Ode, as an example of almost perfect execution of the ode in one of its highest glory, one of its highest peak or uses of language. It shows a perfect blending of classical balances with romantic inspiration. Every word in its place. There is a restraint of expression from the beginning to the end. Yet it grows with emotion and the romantic to the extreme. So, staring in mood of despondent contemplation of our earthly existence, to the beauty that perishes, to the poet that has fleeting glimpses of a world, the world of eternity, where beauty does not perish. Behind the sense of the world, he has a vision of the unseen, and this is the very quintessence of the romance. So here we conclude with each and every analysis of a single word that we have found, and that I have found also to be explained to you, and each and every line that has been explained by me, and at the end I have summed up the aspects, various aspects of the particular romantic ode. So I hope you all have enjoyed, and you all have a scope to peep into the world of Keats through this particular ode to Nightingale. If you have any sort of question, if you have any sort of comments or suggestions or queries, or any kind of addition or alteration that you need to input here, you may write down in my comment box, or you may message it to me. So thank you very much for giving your patience hearing and patience watching. And I once again repeat, please stay inside the four walls of your home and stay safe, and let others to stay safe. Thank you very much.